I don't remember what I did, but what I do remember is that when I auditioned for JJ, I wasn't all that, I had auditioned for it and didn't get it, and then was called back in and was a little less enthused, probably because my ego was burned. But I do remember going into the room with JJ, and you know, it's the most vulnerable position an actor can be in, is going into a room and you're basically, you know, selling your wares and, you know, seeing if people like you. And it was such a comfortable room, and it was so much fun, and it had been such a long time, I remember, since an audition had been fun and not terrifying. And I thought, if the audition could be this much fun, I can't imagine what actually making the thing is going to be like. And any kind of trepidation or anxiety I had about the role or the franchise kind of disappeared completely. And I think it was really due to what JJ brings to it, and what we've been talking about, you know, going around with this film, is that it not only is it for the fans, it's this whole different energy for non-fans alike, and it's for fans of adventure and for action, for thriller and for romance and for, you know, all these different kind of colors that I think just the term science fiction can sometimes alienate or make people feel alienated from. So that was, I was just excited by the excitement in the room.
Well, I got an email, a little bit like Alice, I didn't pick up on the signals. The email said, do you want to come and play? And I went, what, squash or tennis or some kind of racket-based activity? And the penny slowly dropped, and then I fell asleep. Because it was about 2 in the morning or something ridiculous. And it had been so frenzied over Christmas getting myself on tape, and I'd done it, and it had taken a day to compress this little file, because iPhones are quite cool and taken a lot of information now. And once that had all been done, and I sort of breathlessly sat back and went, I got a note back saying, JJ's on holiday. So it's fine, he has to have a rest sometime, but I just didn't get the tape in time before the holiday, so I waited and tried to forget about it. So it was the most thrilling news. I was just over the moon, and I was a huge fan of the first film for every reason that Chris has just kind of reminded us of what the strengths of it were and what the strengths of this one are. It's just such a rich experience to be in his hands and storytellers' hands, where you're taken on a journey of high emotion, comedy, adventure, romance, and comedy, and then back through all that again. I mean, it's I knew it would be a riot, so I was well over the moon.
My first reaction was, I was shooting Avatar, and I was really into it, and I got the call from my agent that JJ wanted me to come in and read for this role because he was going to direct Star Trek, and my first reaction was like, why? You know, and obviously being of the generation of Star Wars, I look at my mom and what Star Trek represented. It was just, you know, it was what my old people used to watch. And I knew very little about the show. And then I read my lines, and I remember everybody kept telling me, he's really excited to meet you, and that made me very nervous. And I came in, I read my scene once, and he told me, I don't need to hear anything else. And I was like, oh my God, I tanked this. He is going to ask me to leave, security's gonna walk me out, I'm never gonna read for him again. And then 2 days later, James Cameron tells me I'm on set, and he goes, I have a surprise for you. And I look, you know, over there, like on the set, and JJ is visiting the set. And I felt, well, I felt so happy and humbled, and I thought, well, then I must have booked the part. And then obviously that was the beginning of me sitting down with my mom and picking her brain in terms of what Star Trek really is and what it represented to her and people, everybody that is devoted to the show. And I gained so much respect, and I'm utterly excited and blessed to be here with everybody.
I found out relatively quickly, I guess. I'd met with JJ, and I thought that the meeting went horrible, absolutely terribly, because I asked JJ asked me, he said, do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, what's the story? He goes, I can't tell you. I said, well, I guess I've got no questions. So I walked out of our initial meeting thinking, well, that was fun. I'm never going to see this guy again. And then he invited me to test for the role of Bones. And so I went into this reading, and I read for it. And I remember getting halfway through, and JJ's laughing. And it threw me because I hadn't done theatre for quite a while, and I'm thinking, what the heck's he laughing at? And then it sort of clicked. And then at the end of the take, I distinctly remember JJ going, oh my gosh, that's it, that's Bones. So I walked out of there sort of with a pretty good sense that it went well, and then, I mean, literally within the space of, I think it was about maybe an hour and a half, we got the word back that the role was on offer to me. And I remember being completely thrilled, elated, excited, and then just the most terrifying horror came over me that now I was actually going to have to deliver this and figure out how to make it work, because, you know, unlike many of these, Simon excluded, I mean, these cast members, I was actually, you know, a huge fan of the original show. So, yeah, for me, I guess it was like, you know, I was elated and then absolutely terrified.
I smuggled back the entire Enterprise piece by piece and rebuilt it in my garden. No, on the first film, we were like every day we'd hand back our badge and our. I have a Starfleet ring, communicator phaser, that whole thing. You'd hand it in to an armed man at the end of the day before you could leave the set. It was all very, you know. This one, I stole my badge. Yeah. Yeah, what are you going to do? Huh? It was on my costume when I got back to my trailer, and it's a beautiful little brass thing. I'll bring it in the next time, JJ. And I put it in my bag. The production design on this film is extraordinary. It's so detailed and beautiful, and every prop is like a wonderful toy. I got to carry a phaser this time, and you know, that was like a dream come true. And if I could have stolen that, I would have. But I was wrestled to the ground by a large woman. And so it swings and roundabouts. Yeah, if I could steal anything, I would. But they won't let me.